Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato ArahatoSammaSambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutayambi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutayambi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutayambi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatayambi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatayambi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatayambi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisoha. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisoha. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisoha. So now we will do the meditation. So get yourself comfy, nice and balanced physical posture, not too rigid, not too lazy, just the middle there, middle ground. And gently close your eyes, gently touching your lips together, breathing in and out of your nose. Now bring your mind to your body. We'll start at the bottom. We'll start at the feet. So release any tension you may have in your toes, the balls of your feet, the arches of your feet. And the heels, the top of your feet, around your ankles and Achilles as well. Now release any tension from your lower leg, around your calf muscles and your shins. And your knees, front, sides, and back of your knees. Top of your leg, the hamstrings and the quad muscles. From your midsection, groin, hip flexors, and glutes. From your lower stomach, on and just above your hips, and your lower back. Further up your stomach, up your sides, and to the center of your back. Your chest area, underneath your arms, and your upper back. Lateral muscles on either side, on the outsides of your back. And then also the rhomboid muscles that are in between the shoulder blades and the spine on either side. Release from your upper trap muscles that run between your neck and your shoulders, as well as your shoulders. And from your upper arms, biceps and triceps. From your elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, fingers, and thumbs. And now bring your focus to your neck and release any tension you may have at the front, sides, and back of your neck. From the back of your head and the sides of your head around your ears and temples. From your face, cheekbones, cheeks, make sure you're not clenching your jaw. From your chin and mouth, both inside and outside. From your nose and sinuses and eye sockets and eyes. And from your forehead. And finally, the crown of your head. Now briefly scan your body again, just to see if there's any tension there that you can release again. And now bring your focus to initially the tip of your nose. And the focus of the meditation is the feeling of the breath as you breathe in and out. Breathing in through your nose, the air is quite cool as it passes your throat. And as it enters your lungs, they expand. As you breathe out, they compress. And as the air leaves your body, out your nose, as it passes your throat, it's quite warm now, because it's been inside the body. So breathing inside and breathing in and out, that's all you have to do. And focus on your breath, specifically the feeling of your breath. When you have some distractions, some mental agitation, such as thoughts, emotions, any mental feelings, don't cling to them. Don't grasp at them. Don't try to forcefully push them away either, or deny them either. So you can refocus on your breath whenever you experience this mental agitation or mental movement. And it is likewise if your mind becomes sleepy and dull, wake it up a little bit by refocusing on your breath more brightly. As I say every week, this way, refocusing on your breath is the antidote for both the agitated and worried mind, as well as the dull and sleepy mind. because so often our mind is like a pendulum, going from one extreme to the other. Unless, of course, we're very experienced in the meditation practice. And I will remind you that even if you want to get to the top of a mountain, you only take one step at a time, breathe one breath at a time. As you do this, you eventually reach your goal to get to the top of the mountain. And it is likewise with our meditation practice. We improve slowly, step at a time. Sometimes it feels like we've improved a lot very quickly. Other times it may take a little bit of extra time. So don't worry, don't be anxious. So now we will practice the breath meditation for a few minutes in silence. Don't be too hard on yourself. So now you can feel very pleased with yourself for engaging in this short meditation practice. Of course, it's good to meditate for longer periods. 20 minutes always seems to be mentioned as a really good length of time to meditate. But of course, you can do as short or as long as you want. And the short meditations are very good. They can only help. As long as we don't just stick to just short meditations. I think our progress on the path to purifying our mind actually will become very slow if we do. Now fill yourself with universal loving kindness as we start to engage in metta bhavana, or loving kindness meditation. You are your own best friend. Remember that. And in fact, your true nature is you are Buddha. Our true nature is enlightenment. Many people think we have to look outside for enlightenment. But actually, how can we ever achieve it if it's outside? It's inside our own mind. But it is obscured or veiled by our mental afflictions and mental habits and so forth. So in the Dharma practice, we are working to unveil our enlightened nature, to uncover our enlightened nature. So you have this already. You have this loving kindness already. You have great compassion already. Fill yourself with so much loving kindness that it now overflows and radiates outward, kind of like a tidal wave of loving kindness, initially radiating to your loved ones, family and friends. May they be happy and free from suffering. May they be at peace. And now also include those you may regard as strangers, whether you know them a little bit or not at all. May they also be happy and free from suffering and be at peace. Radiate this loving kindness further now to include those that you may find difficult or may even regard as enemies. May they also be happy, free from suffering and be at peace. May these three types of people that of course we categorize in our own mind actually, may they all be happy and have the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and free from the causes of suffering. And may they be at peace with themselves, with others, and all of nature. And now radiate this spirit of loving kindness out further and further to also include all living beings around your immediate area. Those living beings that live on the land or even under the land, that fly through the air, that live in the waters, whether they're born from wombs or eggs or moisture or through transformation. Extend further and further now to include all of those living beings within your state or county. And like I said, like a tidal wave of loving kindness out further and further to include other states and counties throughout your whole country and other countries. Initially, those ones that you're familiar with or have an affinity towards, those that you're indifferent towards, and even those places that you may even have an aversion towards, until your loving kindness pervades the whole planet and other planets throughout the whole solar system and other solar systems throughout the whole galaxy and other galaxies throughout the whole universe. The more your loving kindness is immeasurable, or the more loving, I should say, the more loving kindness that you fill your mind with, the less chance for hatred to arise, dislike, aversion, anger, all of these negative emotions that are very destructive. So loving kindness and compassion are the antidotes for these negative emotions. And of course, true loving kindness is based on equanimity, non-biased mind, which is in turn based on true wisdom. So the more we engage in this type of practice, the more we open our mind up to understanding things as they are, to developing, or you should say unveiling, the wisdom immeasurable wisdom, immeasurable compassion. Extend this loving kindness out throughout all of infinite space. And as you do this, also be present here and now, and we will recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. So now we will continue our discussion about the 5 skandhas, or the 5 aggregates, the 5 aspects that make up a living being. We've already spoken about the first one, form, which also includes what we call the subject and object. Subject meaning your senses, so your 5 physical senses of the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, and the body, and also the sense objects that they come into contact with. And then, of course, we spoke about the 5th skandha, which is consciousness. And in every experience, we have to have consciousness. It's essential. Otherwise, we don't have experience. We cannot have experience just between, for instance, our eye sense and that which we are seeing. It's the actual consciousness that helps us to have the experience. But this is like a bland experience, you could say. This is not a personal experience yet. So after mentioning and reiterating a couple of things, we will talk about the 3 skandhas, number 2, 3, and 4, of feeling, perception, and mental impulses that actually turn our experience into a personal experience. Okie doke. So last week, towards the end of the class, we spoke about the 6th sense, the mind itself. Now, mind itself is not just consciousness. The mind includes those other 3, doesn't it? We have mental feelings, we perceive, and we also impulsively react or have some sort of mental reactions or actions, mental formations, some sort of volition. And the mind sense too has as its object, just to give you a few examples, it has the mind itself, you could say. So like, for instance, if you are meditating and you're having the object as your mind as the object of the meditation, then of course the mind becomes the object. Then of course we have thoughts, ideas, and concepts. We have properties of different types. We have beliefs. We have mental imagery even. In fact, you could say the mind is always playing a movie, isn't it? The untrained mind. It's like we have this movie going on always. We think of something and then we have an image in our mind of this. We also have some sort of mental chatter going on. We associate whatever it is we're thinking about. We have some sort of perception of it. And then we have a belief. Is this real? Is it not real? Is it neither? Is it both? You know, so we're always having these different activities in the mind, different objects in the mind. And obviously there's a contact between the actual sense and the sense object. And then, like I mentioned, the consciousness of that moment, or that conscious moment, arises due to the contact between the sense and the sense objects. Then, of course, we have, I mentioned, I'll reiterate again, consciousness is the mere awareness, or you could say even a sensitivity to an object. But it's actually, like I said, reiterating again, the subject and object contacting together, then there's a conscious moment. An example, I mentioned this example last week, is the eye. We have the eye and then the visual objects. The example is looking at your computer right now. You have the ability to see. That's your eye sense coming into play. Then there's a contact with what it is you're seeing, the computer and the images on the computer right now. And then you have a conscious moment of that. Okay, you don't think about it yet. It's just a bland conscious moment. It's not a personal experience yet. The personal experience is produced through the functioning of the other 3 mental, the mental factors. the aggregate of feeling, the aggregate of perception, and the aggregate of what I like to call habitual mental reactions or impulsive mental reactions. We are conditioned a certain way, all to do with our past actions, our habits that we've created mentally through many, many lifetimes, including this lifetime. And so our reaction is very conditioned. Like, for instance, if you don't like a certain type of food, then if you taste that food by accident, then your mental reaction quite often from the feeling of that, from the perception of that, then of course you have this yucky sort of what you think is yucky taste in your mouth. But the other people may like that. I just thought of something. It's quite funny. It wasn't to do with taste, but actually to do with the smell. Some of you know this story. I'll keep it really, really brief. When I was living in a temple in California, in America, my room was next to the master's room. We were very close together, Venerable Chanting. And anyway, next on the other side of there was a small storeroom that I kept a few of my things in because my room in the temple is very small. Anyway, I went in to grab something, and it stunk really bad. It smelled like something had died in there. And I thought, well, what should I do? Should I look for it? Or maybe I'll just go and check with the master if he was aware of that, to see, whether I should clean it or something. And I went in the room and I said to him, there's a horrible smell. And he started laughing at me. He said, have you experienced durian before? Now, some of you may know this fruit. It's quite nice, the actual fruit and taste, but the smell, it smells like gas or something, really, really bad. And I said, no, I haven't. Anyway, so he told me what it was. Some people had come along, made some donation to the temple of durian fruit, which to many people is regarded as a delicacy. Now, that smell to me was awful. To some people, they're so used to it because they love the fruit, they love the taste of it. See, my conditioning at that time was, yuck, that's horrible. Something died. That's my mental reaction at that time, which actually wasn't 100% accurate, was it? To me, it smelled bad, but to other people, maybe not. Okay, so I just thought I'd share that kind of funny story with you. It just came into my mind in this moment. Okay, so we have the feeling, the perception, the impulsive mental reactions. We can also call this mental formation. But also, remember I mentioned last week and maybe even the week before that there's two aspects to this. The first one is, I've already mentioned, the conditioned mind from the past, you could say. But there's also in the present, we have a volition. We have intentions in the present. So these intentions or this volition has also three types. There's the wholesome, which give rise to wholesome results, obviously, or desirable results. Then there is the unwholesome reaction, which gives rise to the negative karma, and then, of course, the unsavory results. And then, of course, there's the indifferent, which is neither the wholesome or the unwholesome. I think that's enough from that page. I did have a little bit more there, but I've already covered it without looking before. Okay, so now these three aggregates function to turn awareness or consciousness, the awareness, consciousness experience of the object into a personal experience. The first one is feeling. I think this is really quite simple to understand. In the Sanskrit and the Pali languages, this is known as VANDANA. So this is like a mental sensation. So I think the literal translation would be sensation, okay? But sensations really is feelings, isn't it? We have some sort of mental sensation related to the experience of the subject or our ability to see or smell or taste and so forth, coming into contact with an object and then having that conscious moment, being conscious of that experience. And then we turn it into something personal. So this has an emotional dimension. It's not yet fully blown emotions, of course. We have pleasant, we have unpleasant, and we have neutral feelings, but not, you can't say pleasant, it relates straight to attachment, because that actually comes through perceiving this feeling, perceiving the object, giving it an identity, and then mentally reacting to it. Okay, so the emotion comes then, really, isn't it? Fully blown emotion anyway. So think about, I mentioned before about the smell. Now, let's say a feeling related to your experience, I've mentioned before, like hurting yourself. The other day, I was cutting up some fruit and the knife got just a little bit underneath my fingernail. And because it got a little bit of blood, but not much. And ouch, that the feeling was ouch. So this is kind of like a mental feeling. It's unpleasant. But of course, if I had maybe started to massage myself, this gives rise maybe pleasant, not unpleasant. And then a lot of our other activities give rise to the neutral, the neither pleasant nor the unpleasant. But I won't stay on this too much because I think it's quite easy to understand. We're not talking about physical feelings now. We're talking about mental feeling of pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And then we have the perception. Now, when we chant the Heart Sutra for the regular students, we normally use the word thought. Now, of course, we can use many different words. I think perception is probably the best one when you are, when I'm giving a commentary on these 5 skandhas. So we perceive something, or you could say we have that initial thought of it. We recognize it. We cognize it. We kind of note it, is another way to put it. Now, it's difficult to understand this one. I think many people have difficulty to understand what is perception. What is this skandha? What is it actually? It's known as samjna or sanna. The first one in Sanskrit, second one in Pali, if you want to continue your studies, either on the internet or on the books that you have. Or ask other teachers as well, or shoot me a text message or an email or even call. I'm very happy to expand upon these things for you. It's activity of recognition and identification. It's like we give the object an identity. Not only an identity in like a word, for instance. This is something I'm seeing, noting it as, okay, this is a computer, for instance. But also there's a concept behind that as well. So we're attaching a name and identity to an object of experience. The function of perception is to turn an indefinite experience into an identified and recognized experience. I think you can understand that, yeah? So to speak about it in a certain linear type way, with our body, we have these, subject and object come together, then the conscious moment comes, then there's feeling that comes from that, and then we recognize that feeling. Or you could say in another way, that we have that conscious experience after we have the subject contacting the object, and then we perceive it, and then the feeling comes. Okay, so, but this is actually all happening, you could say, all together, really. Every moment that we experience life, we have these, every moment of experience, we have these 5, really, isn't it? So the function of perception is to turn an indefinite experience into an identified and recognized experience, to reiterate. The formulation of a conception of an idea about a particular object. Okay, and with the perception, we have a conceptual element. It introduces us to a definitive idea about the object of our experience. I think that maybe that's enough for the moment, because I'm going to expand upon this as we go, and as we get into the specific aspect of the specific factor of these 5 aggregates, okay? Because we're going to spend a bit of time. I'm going to give you some ideas, really break them down so that you get to know it inside out. And then you can utilize your mind, your ability to investigate and analyze, to come to some understanding. Because what it is we're trying to achieve here is realize the wisdom of emptiness. You could also say realize the wisdom of no self, okay? Everything is impermanent. We know this superficially. We know this on a very basic level, don't we? I mean, we look at ourselves, things change. For instance, maybe a guy doesn't shave for 5 days. You look in the mirror after 5 days, it's changed, isn't it? You got whiskers now. We don't have a haircut. Somebody doesn't have a haircut for three months. But then your hair's longer. Change. A flower. The flower doesn't last forever. On a hot day, very dry wind, the flower doesn't last long at all. Things constantly changing, but we don't perceive the subtle change, the subtle impermanence. You could say that when you get to experience impermanence on a more subtle level, you're starting to open your mind. You're starting to ready your mind to understand the nature of reality, the emptiness, even the emptiness of emptiness. Okay, so impulsive mental reactions is the fourth skandha. It's, like I said, made up of 2 parts, one from the past, which we can call mental formation or impulsive mental reactions. And then we have the volition and intention and motivation behind our thoughts, behind our words, behind our actions, our physical actions. And that's in the present. Like mentioned, this can either take on, be wholesome, unwholesome, or neutral. Then this is a conditioned response, as mentioned before, to the object of experience. It comes from habit. You could say our habitual tendencies. We have formed this habit over so long, and unless we actually sort of collect our mind with it, realize it, and then start to undo it, it will actually reinforce itself over and over and over again. Just like, for instance, if a rock was rolling down a sticky, muddy mountainside, it would gather more and more and more and more mud on top of that rock. So if we don't address this, if we don't check it, if we don't work to rectify it, then we will reinforce these habits over time. Now, I know we're under 1 minute, so maybe I think maybe we leave it there and continue this next week. I will talk about the present. For next week's class, initially, we'll talk about the present intention, okay, within this 4th skandha. So please look after yourself, remain safe, care for yourself, care for others, care for nature, and practice the Dharma to the best of your ability. And I really appreciate the time we get to spend together, even though it's not face-to-face at present. Namo Buddhaya.